October 2025, and once again, ladies and gentlemen, the meltdown is real. Hakeem Jeffries is snapping like a twig in a hurricane after President Trump just pulled off what Democrats swore would absolutely never happen. Rebuilding part of the White House, privately funded, under budget, guys, and completely legal. You heard that right, guys. So while the media was screaming fascism and threat to democracy, President Donald J. Trump is literally rebuilding the people's house, making it grander, bigger, nicer, stronger, and more American than it has looked in decades. And instead of celebrating a win for the country, Democrats are foaming at the mouth over a ballroom. A ballroom, guys. I mean, this is the hill. This is the hill that they've chosen to die on. This is an embarrassment for the Democratic Party. So now Hakeem Jeffries, who just days ago was completely humiliated during the shutdown collapse, he's now back in front of the cameras ranting about pay to play. What is he saying? Pay to play schemes and destroying the people's house. But what he's really destroying is what's left of the Democrat Party's credibility, okay? Behind all this fake outrage lies the truth. Trump didn't break the law. Trump broke their narrative. That's what he did. And tonight, I'm going to go ahead and pull back the curtain on the biggest tantrum in Washington, D.C. Hit the like button, subscribe. Okay, so the Democrat shutdown, well, it's really the government shutdown, but the Democrats caused the shutdown. I mean, we've already gone over this, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I think that the horse is already dead. Is the horse already dead, guys? So the government shutdown threat just crashed and burned spectacularly. Democrats swung hard, betting that they could scare the public and corner President Trump into caving on their spending bill. But President Trump didn't blink. Their plan failed. It backfired in their faces. He called their bluff. He held the line and he forced the media to admit the obvious, guys. It was all political theater. I mean, this is straight up art of war. Drop an art of war down below, guys. Trump knows how to negotiate. And then of course, there was Hakeem Jeffries. Timu Obama, Walmart Obama, Hakeem Jeffries, standing at the podium, red-faced and rattled, mumbling about Republican obstruction. Meanwhile, his own caucus couldn't agree on a path forward. So, of course, I think at this point, he pretty much looked a lot less like a leader and more like a man who just realized that the cameras were still rolling after the curtain dropped, and he was scared. The smug confidence of last week's speeches are gone. In fact, the fiery talking points about saving democracy, they have evaporated. The GOP held together, they did, and the markets didn't crash, paychecks still went out, and the sky didn't fall. In fact, the only thing that's collapsing was their narrative. And so when Democrats lose a narrative, they need a new villain fast. They got to hurry up and find somebody to blame, right? That is when they focus the shift from policy to plaster, from spending bills to ballroom walls, because if they can't win the argument, then they may as well go ahead and invent a brand new scandal. And this is what happened the moment that Hakeem Jeffries lost the shutdown fight. The very next morning, he woke up and kind of looking for something, anything for him to scream about, okay? He's like, he woke up in the morning like, what are we going to complain about today? I know. Now think about this whiplash, okay? Just a few days ago, Democrats warned America was teetering on the edge of fascism, guys. Believe that, guys? Trump's declaring himself king. This is what they're screaming. They're getting red in the face, saying that Trump's calling himself a king. But we already heard from Trump. He already said he's not a king. They were saying that the republic is over. They marched, they shouted, they tweeted dramatic hashtags about resistance. And then, snap of the fingers, suddenly the great existential crisis of our time is drywall. It runs over the Home Depot so that they can help build out the White House. It wasn't inflation. It's not border security. It's not Medicare, not the national debt. No, the left's new apocalypse is a ballroom renovation. From saving democracy to saving drywall. Do you guys, I can't make this stuff up, guys. Like these people, they're so desperate, okay? Drop a Home Depot down below if you understand what I'm saying here, right? They're worried about Trump rebuilding and renovating the White House to make it bigger and more American and more patriotic than it's ever been and grander and nicer. And they're complaining about this. You couldn't script satire this sharp even if you try, guys. This is the perfect symbol of what the modern left has become. Outrage merchants chasing the very next shiny object, okay? One minute, they're warning about tyranny, but the very next minute, they're clutching their pearls over construction permits. It's ridiculous, guys. The No Kings revolt fizzled. The shutdown completely failed. And now they're pretending a 90,000 square foot privately funded addition to the White House is somehow a national emergency. Give me a shoulder to cry on, guys. These people are absolutely ridiculous. This is desperation that's clearly dressed up as moral outrage, because if the country isn't collapsing, their political power is. And this, my friends, this is why Ballroom Gate was born. Now, the biggest mistakes that retirees make with Medicare is waiting until the plan changes, waiting until bills pile up and you get behind, waiting until it's too late. This is why I partner with Chapter, because they help you review your Medicare plan now before the problems show up and you have to call your family and put pressure on your family. No one wants to have to do that, right? One of our viewers, she said, I waited too long, but Chapter still helped me fix my Medicare coverage. So let me ask you, are you going to keep waiting, or are you going to do what most people already are and take action today? Now, most people, they're already dialing the phone number on the bottom of your screen right there, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. And here's what another viewer shared after making the call to Chapter. She said, thank you, RY. I'm assuming that's Ron Yates. Dave, Chapter explained options to me. And yes, I finally understand Medicare also. I have been overpaying for years. Thank you, Ron Yates. Thank you, Dave, Chapter. Absolutely amazing. So let's get this straight here, guys. There is no taxpayer-funded Trump ballroom slush fund. There isn't. The new East Wing expansion is a privately funded, donor-backed project, roughly 90,000 square feet of state-level architectural craftsmanship, built to restore White House hosting capacity for world leaders. Now, the Associated Press even admitted it. The project started around $250 million, then it rose to around $300 million as more private donors stepped up. Now, that's not corruption. That is patriotism with a checkbook, guys. But Democrats and their mouthpieces online, like, call to activism, they twisted that story into Trump looting the Treasury. No, Trump was building the Treasury, guys. They don't even mention that not one red cent comes from taxpayers. They didn't even mention the fact that the legal carve-out that makes this project 100% legitimate. Instead, they whip up these headlines like Trump's secret donors buying influence through ballroom construction. Give me a break. The same crowd who blew billions of dollars on Ukraine audits that never passed, they want to invest a privately funded renovation to the White House? Come on, folks. This is projection at its purest form. Trump builds under budget and ahead of schedule, and somehow this is a crime. The only thing being robbed here is the narrative. And is anyone even remotely surprised that President Trump came in under budget and ahead of schedule? I mean, he's been building real estate for years. Drop an art of the deal down below if you see our president at work here. And so this really kind of brings us to the meltdown, the Hakeem Jeffries press conference that had even CNN producers cringing behind the cameras. The man stormed onto stage, veins bulging out of his neck and his head, shouting about a pay-to-play scheme, warning of people who must be held accountable and promising investigations into the destruction of the people's house. Destruction? We're talking about a ballroom, guys, a gift to the country, not a demolition site. This was the most transparent deflection in Washington this year. I mean, this wasn't leadership. This was clearly an emotional damage control outburst. Now, remember, this is the same Hakeem Jeffries who just screamed at GOP Representative Mike Lawler to keep your mouth shut on the House floor during the shutdown fiasco. The man's temper is turning into a highlight reel of humiliation. But that's what happens when politics becomes performance, right? When you have no victory to stand on, you end up pounding the podium instead. His outrage wasn't about Trump. It was clearly about failure, and every word of that tirade exposed it. So now let's talk about hypocrisy, shall we? Because this is where the double standard becomes jaw-dropping. Back in 2010, Barack Obama approved a massive taxpayer-funded renovation of the White House. CNN called it a modernization effort. The cost, $376 million. But here's the kicker. Adjusted for inflation, this is almost $1 billion in today's money. $1 billion paid for by you. And what did the media say then? Not a word of outrage. No pay-to-play headlines there. No congressional probes. They called it historic restoration and forward-thinking leadership. Now, if we fast forward to today, 2025, Trump raises private money, builds faster, cleaner, and cheaper, and suddenly it's a scandal. These are the same people who cheered Obama's taxpayer tab are screaming about President Trump's donor-funded generosity. You want proof that this isn't about cost or legality? Just look at their silence 15 years ago. This is not about spending. This is about who is spending. When the left does it, oh, it's visionary. But when Trump does it, somehow it's fascism with chandeliers. That's not journalism. That is bias carved in marble. So now, watch how the media turns that hypocrisy into headlines, okay? CNN rolls the clip, MSNBC brings in ethics experts, and late night hosts rehearse their punchlines about Trump's ballroom of corruption. You can almost see the coordination there. The same buzzwords, the same tone, the same fake shock. Oh my God. This isn't reporting, it's a production. It's Ballroom Gate, the miniseries. The corporate press needs villains to survive. So when Trump wins, they lose clicks. So then they manufacture outrage to keep the rage machine running. They know Democrats are fractured after the shutdown collapse, so then they hand them a distraction. And right on cue, the social media echo chamber lights up. Hashtags, memes, fake insider leaks. The goal isn't truth. The goal is noise, because noise drowns out accountability. They can't stand that President Trump is succeeding without them, so they attack the very thing that symbolizes his comeback, a ballroom built by private citizens, not by bureaucrats. It's not journalism, it's theater. But the audience is shrinking and the script is getting rather old. So here's where the whole Democrat narrative collapses: the law. So Reuters confirmed it plain as day. The White House is exempt from the National Historic Preservation Act. So what this means is that the so-called Trump Ballroom project, it doesn't need approval from the National Capital Planning Commission or any other bureaucratic bottleneck nonsense. It is perfectly legal. But do you think Hakeem Jeffries bothered to read that before calling a press conference? Of course not. Facts don't fit the outrage cycle. They never do. So instead, he's grandstanding about accountability and pumping his chest while ignoring that Obama used the exact same exemption during his billion-dollar renovation. Now, Trump is not bending the law. He is following it. Every inch of that Constitution, from the permits to the funding trail, it's all documented, it's transparent, and it is completely lawful. And so the left calls it corruption because they just can't stand that he's doing something that they can't spin into a crime. No crimes, no corruption, just progress and jealousy. That is the headline that you're never going to see on CNN, because admitting that would absolutely destroy their favorite narrative, that Trump breaks everything that he touches. Turns out this time he's just rebuilding what they left in ruins. And so now the part that really terrifies them, it's the optics. It's how it looks, guys. Trump isn't just building a ballroom. He's building a symbol. Marble columns, golden trims, crystal chandeliers. It is unapologetically presidential. It screams strength, prosperity, class, and confidence. That image burns every talking point that the left has. So while they preach decline, Trump is rebuilding. While they talk about shared sacrifice, he's showing private citizens investing in America's future. The same man that they called a dictator is now the only one who's visibly improving the people's house without touching taxpayer funds. To ordinary Americans, this is absolutely inspiring, but to Democrats, it's a complete nightmare, because optics matter more than the polls. Now, the last time Trump rebuilt something under budget, it was the economy. Every drone shot of that ballroom gleaming under the White House lights is yet another nail in the coffin of the Trump ruins everything myth. The man that they mocked as chaotic is delivering order and beauty again. And that, folks, this is why they're melting down on live television, because success, especially Trump's success, exposes their failure in 4K clarity. Behind the cameras, the mood in the Democratic Party is absolutely chaotic. The shutdown gamble backfired, and now the same people who once chanted unity, they're now pointing fingers left and right, looking for a scapegoat, looking for somebody to blame. Moderates are furious, blaming leadership for chasing headlines instead of deals. Progressives are demanding new investigations just to stay relevant in the news cycle. And at the center of this storm stands Hakeem Jeffries. Timu Obama, Walmart Obama, a man who promised strategy but delivered spectacle instead. Whispers are leaking out of closed-door meetings. Donors are nervous. Staffers demoralized. Polling teams are panicking. Senators quietly distancing themselves, saying, we need to move on from the drama. Translation, they're tired of cleaning up Hakeem Jeffries' mess. What you're watching today isn't leadership. This is a circular firing squad. Each faction blames the other for the humiliation of the shutdown collapse and the embarrassment of Ballroom Gate. I mean, they can't even admit that the problem isn't Trump, it's them. The party that's branded itself as defenders of democracy now looks like a reality TV show that's ran out of episodes. So when the cameras fade and the voters start paying attention, that is when the fractures show. So right now, they're just splitting wide open. So I want to recap what just happened, okay? The shutdown bluff failed. The ballroom scandal, fiction. The media outrage machine, completely out of gas. What's left? is a president standing taller than ever. Trump rebuilt the White House while the opposition tore itself apart. He stayed within the law, under budget, and above the noise. And every failed attack only made him look even stronger. In fact, the truth is, this isn't just about a ballroom. It's about symbolism. The people's house is being restored at the same moment that America's confidence is returning. That is what makes them absolutely insane. Every fake scandal that they throw only polishes his armor. Every meltdown that they stage only proves that he's winning. The more they scream, the calmer he looks, and the calmer he looks, the more Americans remember why they voted for him in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, the left built a stage for Trump's downfall, and he turned it into a ballroom. Like, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.